Well, good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, and I'm so glad you tuned in. We're going to continue on our account of Noah in just a moment, but because it's Thursday and because tomorrow's show I pre-recorded, I basically did it to honor America. I know it sounds funny, and I know it's no special day or something, but my heart has been hurting of late for our country, and I came across something in our travels that just was so honoring to America that I had to do a special show on it, and that's tomorrow. So I wanted to remind everyone today that on Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock is our Saddleback Church Laguna Woods worship service. So I hope you'll remember, tune in. David and Noel Green always do special music for us so that it feels like our worship service. Now, back to our account of Noah, and we're starting today in Genesis chapter 8. And verse 1 of that, it's going to be our verse for the day. And it just says, God remembered Noah. Why would I choose that as a verse? It's an easy one to memorize, though, isn't it? God remembered Noah. Well, here's why. Because, Noah and his family, by the way, his whole family was on board and their wives. So there were actually 8 people. Sometimes people think there were only 2. No, there were 8 people. But anyway, they were shut up for all that time in the ark. In a way, our lives have been kind of shut down, haven't they? Some of us have, because of maybe pre-existing conditions or whatever, have felt the need to only pretty much stay inside. And all of us have curtailed our life a little bit, and some of us quite a bit. I want to show, sometimes it seems like, God, where are you? And do you remember, when are you going to let us out of this? When is there going to be a vaccine? When do we get back to life as we knew it? Well, that's why I like this verse. God did not forget Noah and his family. God remembered Noah. And God remembers you and me. And he's not going to forget us. He's not through with us yet. He continues to use us. Now, he certainly used Noah and his family, didn't he? He repopulated the world. But anyway, aside from that, here's what it says. God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. We're going to show you canyons. The national park in that area, there's 2 main ones, Canyonlands and Arches National Park. We're going to show you scenes from those, and as you watch these scenes, look at the way that the amazing depth and width of these canyons. And you also can think of the Grand Canyon, if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon. Think of that also. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish reading this, but I want you to be looking and observing as much as you can of these amazing, now we like them because they're beautiful. And it's just phenomenal scenery that I'm sure you're looking at right now. God is an amazing creator, and he used the receding waters to sculpt something that thousands of years later we get to enjoy. That's just like God, isn't it? Verse 3 of chapter 8, Genesis says, the water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 7th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. But even after then, it says, the waters continued to recede until the 10th month. And on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. That means that it continued to recede after that. So I want you to think in terms of how these canyons are also, in my mind, tremendous evidence of a worldwide flood. For one thing, the amount of time, well, I know that when you go to the Grand Canyon, or any of these canyons also, if you go to the visitor centers of the national parks, they tell you it took millions of years. But even that, when you think of a stream or a river going down the middle and forming, creating those massively wide canyons, how would a stream in the middle ever sculpt out massively wide canyons? It doesn't make sense, no matter how many years, because the stream only goes through and affects the land by the stream or the river. The only thing that makes sense is that the whole area was covered in water, hence fish fossils at the top, and then over a short period of time of months, but massive amounts of water that they can't even register flowed out of that area. And it sculpted those canyons all at once. That's the only thing that makes sense, because it's the only thing that would ever be wide enough to really do that. Now, let's just say that you're a math major and you could figure out that a stream takes a certain amount of dirt away per year, and that amount of dirt times 1,000,000 years, you had figured it out that it could work. Okay, then let me just challenge you. What if at the same amount of water as 1,000,000 years times that amount of water happened all at once? And I believe that's exactly what happened. We just read how all the mountains were covered. So when all that water receded, and actually the oceans were formed, the land was lifted, and the deep oceans, the Pacific, the Atlantic, and so forth, were formed. That water came from somewhere, and it came from all this land. And it formed amazing canyons. Now, these monuments that you see, that's why I wanted you to note that at the level, they're all at basically the same level. So those monoliths, those pillars, they must have had something harsher or harder about them, maybe at the top, that it didn't all go away. It flooded. It stayed. Some of that rock was a little bit harder than the rest around it, and now we see that that's what's standing, and we call them monuments. But really, it wasn't that they were lifted up. It's that all the land around them washed away, and it appears that it was all at once. Now, Noah and his family had quite an adventure, didn't they? I can't imagine it. Next year, there's a Noah's Ark replica outside of Lexington, Kentucky, that we plan to go to. I'll bet some of you have already been to that. But I can't wait, because I want to see how all this worked. And you will see it right here on Inspiration for Today when we get to that. Well, listen, we're going to continue. Well, tomorrow, like I say, I have a special broadcast that honors America. But on Monday, we're going to finish up the story of Noah and his family. At least that's the plan, unless we go another day. But I hope you're enjoying this trip just as we are. And I think we're seeing God's handiwork everywhere. I love it. I hope you're enjoying these shows also. God bless. See you tomorrow. Beautiful day. It's wonderful. This is the day that the Lord